Tell us, you guys, Paul and Jason, recently, uh, the past couple of years, I guess, have revamped Dirty Looks. And you've played a few gigs and you've recorded a live album. Paul, as one of the members of the classic lineup of that band, how did that reunion, I guess, come together, and how did Jason get brought into the fold? And tell us how, where that stands today, because it seems to have gotten some traction.
Yeah, we got lots of requests to come together and play those songs, and so in entertaining that, I was like, well, at first I was like, well, obviously can't be done. We back when Henrik was alive, we had planned to do some type of a reunion thing, and that never happened. So when we started the conversation of it, I said, well, there's really only one guy that could possibly even be considered to do that, and that is Jason. And he was very receptive to the idea. And so we started putting that together. Jack actually flew down here to Texas, and this is like, 5-6 years ago now, and jammed with me and Jason, and that was cool. And then the year or so later, we all got together and rehearsed like for real, and with the show being planned for like 2 weeks later, and that 2 weeks later was in March of 2020, in the middle of March. And so in the span of a week, we saw the world shut down. And so that show got bagged for like 2 more years. So we then came back after 2 years, and we got together and rehearsed there in Pennsylvania, and pulled the show together and played the next day and recorded it for a live album and DVD.
That's a ballsy move. Jason and I have talked about this on the show before. And
who records their first gig?
Right. Yeah, this was the first time on stage for these 5 particular guys together. Because of course David Beeson played guitar too.
Right.
So yeah, that was his and Jason's first Dirty Looks gig. But they both killed it. So, and the show was great, and I think the DVD is pretty cool, and the album is cool. I thought Matt Bray did a great job mixing it.
Yeah, he kind of saved the record, in my opinion. Yeah.
I should mention that Matt Bray also mixed the Scream Therapy album.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, right on. Okay.
And he did a great job.
I'm looking at your background, and I see that white flying V, and that is that the same V that you recorded Cool from the Wire on, and that you have subsequently played at the Dirty Looks gigs?
That's the one.
That's the one, folks. For those of you that are not watching and only listening, too bad.
Legendary.
Yeah.
So, that guitar made its way into the Scream Therapy logo, if you notice that.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That serves as the Y when it's turned upside down.
Right.
And on the back of the album, I'm holding that up, and that is the Y.
Yeah. How long have you had that guitar? For those that can't see it, it's a Dean Flying V, white. It's a beautiful looking guitar.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure it's an 82, and I bought it used in 84.
And you recorded Cool from the Wire on that guitar?
Yeah, only that one.
Wow. That's awesome.
That's really, at the time, that's all I had. We were not, wealthy yet. And then we got endorsements, but not till after. So,
yeah. So I think a lot of people are under the impression, I know I was for the longest time, I thought that the first Dirty Looks album was Cool from the Wire, but there's actually like 3 independent albums and an EP or something that came out before Cool from the Wire. Cool from the Wire is your first major label,
right?
Of course, but were you even in the band at the time that those independent releases came out? So tell me.
There's one album that was Henrik and a couple other guys, and I think they did that in San Francisco. And then Henrik came back to Pennsylvania, and then they recorded the I Want More album, and then he hooked up with Jack, and they recorded the In Your Face album. And after that, Gene and I joined the band, and Atlantic actually wanted to just re-release In Your Face. They wanted to remix it and just release it because they thought that album was fine. And then we did some more demos for them, and with Gene and I playing on them, and they said, "Oh, hold on, new plan. We want this particular band to record an album, and let's get Max Norman in here to produce it and do an album for real." So that worked out really well for Gene and I.
Yeah,
no disrespect to who played on In Your Face, but yeah, I think that was a wise plan.
Cool from the Wire is a masterpiece, man. It's one of my favorite records. And you mentioned Max Norman, and Jason, I want Jason to chime in here too. So Max Norman produced Cool from the Wire. He also produced the debut Dangerous Toys record. So I wanted to ask each of you, what was your experience working with Max Norman? And for anyone who's not aware, Max did the first 2 solo Ozzy Osbourne records, Blizzard of Oz and Diary of a Madman. So
as well as a million other things too.
A million other things.
If you've heard this song called, I don't know, Crazy Train,
that's
then
Blizzard of Oz.
You know what kind of bullets he's got in his guns. Right.
Yeah. So he's known or maybe mostly for Blizzard of Oz and Diary of a Madman. I know he worked with Megadeth and a lot of others. But anyway, a highly decorated, if you will, producer. And he's produced albums by both of your respective bands. So what was it like, Jason, we'll start with you, let you chime in here. What was it like working with Max Norman? And then Paul, actually, let's do it in reverse because Dirty Looks worked with him first. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yeah. Okay. So Paul, you tell us about working with Max. And then Dangerous Toys said, we want to sound like that. So Paul, you tell us about your experience working with Max Norman, and then Jason, you compare and contrast your experience with Max Norman.
Mm-hmm.
Well, first of all, working with Max Norman, since he had recently recorded Randy Rhoads, and so standing next to a guy and recording guitar tracks, standing next to a guy that recorded Randy Rhoads, you're not going to do anything that's going to impress this guy, right?
That's brutal honesty right there.
But he was really super nice to me, and was real supportive, and just a pleasure to record tracks with. When he was working with the band as a whole, he tended to be a little bit more taskmaster-ish, and whipping us into shape and things. But when it was just him and I, he really couldn't have been any nicer.